to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back, and I'm going to try not to screw this up like I did last time. We are on episode 5. Episode 5 of... Oh, mess everything up, my notes. Episode 5 of the Welcome to Guns series. That's right. You heard me flip the page over so I could see exactly which. When you're doing 3 podcasts a week, I got a topics written down here, but I kind of get confused as to which one I am doing. So before I sat down to do this podcast today, I had to write it down, but I'd flipped my page over. So I had to also remember we were doing episode 5. So I'm sorry, we got it all out. Episode 5 of Welcome to Guns. And that's for anyone. This is for the beginners. It's for people who've been with firearms for quite a bit. Maybe you just want a refresher. Maybe you just like the sound of my sultry voice. I don't know. But, man, you're listening. You've subscribed, and I do appreciate that. Today, the topic is going to be types of guns. Now, what we're gonna do, there's a lot of different kinds of guns. We have long guns, we have rifles, we have shotguns, we have handguns. I don't have time to go over all of them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna solely focus on different types of handguns today. So you're out and about. Maybe you have a firearm. Maybe you're still looking. We talked about what it's like to go into a gun store last week. I probably should have switched these episodes around, but it is what it is. We're going to talk about the different types of handguns you might encounter, and I'm probably going to leave some out. I'm going to just kind of pick the basic ones that you might encounter if you're looking to get a handgun for self-defense, okay? So I can make this real easy. I can say we have big handguns, little handguns, and leave it at that. But we're going to get a little more detailed. We're going to talk about revolvers. We're going to talk about semi-autos. We'll talk about double actions, 1911s, which are single actions, the types of guns, maybe the type of action. Action meaning how the gun works to fire the gun and load the ammunition, different types of actions. So let's start with revolvers. Revolvers are going to be like them Old West guns, right? They're revolvers. They have a cylinder in them, okay? Depending on the firearm, you could fit 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds. It just depends on the caliber and the type of firearm, okay? And these don't eject shells. You put 5 or 6 rounds into said cylinder, close the cylinder, and you fire it. It's like what you saw in like cowboy movies. It's going to be bang, 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 right? You press the trigger back, the hammer goes back, releases, fires that shell, the cylinder is turned, you press the trigger, you fire another one. When you're done firing all the rounds that said gun will hold, or that cylinder will hold, you have to open the cylinder, knock all the empties out, reload it, and go again. Pretty basic guns. There's some really nice guns that are revolvers that shoot really well. You can get them in most calibers. So those are options. So what's wrong with revolvers? Revolvers tend to have a heavy trigger. They tend to not hold as many rounds, obviously. Sorry, I'm fighting a sneeze over here and allergies. It's a real thing. And even in the wintertime, it's a real thing. But so revolvers, some people like them, some people hate them, but you're going to come across them, okay? Let's go and we'll touch on the next one. Like I said, I'm not getting too horribly deep into this. I can. If someone wants me to dive deeper into these, by all means, let me know. Next one is what we call a semi-auto. Semi-auto is what? You have a magazine, you put the rounds in the magazine, you put it in the gun, you rack the slide, and then the gun is going to fire 1 round for every time you press that trigger. And as you press the trigger, what's going to happen? The firing pin is going to go forward. It's going to strike the primer. It's going to create an explosion. It's going to drive the bullet out of the gun, and then there's going to be a bunch of back pressure, which on a semi-auto, you have a slide that moves back and forth. That back pressure is going to send the slide back. It's going to eject the case. It's going to slide forward, loading or chambering another round out of the magazine and waiting for you to press the trigger again. And this all happens really super duper fast. Like you can't see it most of the time. and you can keep firing the gun given that the gun functions like it's supposed to. Every time you press that trigger, it's going to fire around and eject a shell. Fire around, eject a shell. And semi-autos, depending on the size of them, typically will hold anywhere from, sometimes they'll be 10, sometimes the states only mandate that they can only hold 10 rounds. Some are 7, some are 15, some are 17, some will hold, you can get magazines that you can put in the hole all the way up to 30 rounds. Okay, your average is anywhere from like 12 to 20, okay, depending on the firearm. You have what we call striker fired semi-autos, which means you press that trigger and you get the same trigger feel, the same trigger press, which we haven't discussed yet, every single time you fire that gun. You have a double action gun, which is a semi-auto but has a hammer. And your first first press of the trigger is going to be long and heavy. And that's because it's doing a double action. It is pulling back the hammer and releasing the hammer. And so there's a lot of weight on that. Once you do that, the first trigger press will be double action. Pull press that trigger, the hammer goes back, press that trigger, keep pressing it. It's going to release the hammer, the gun's going to fire, the round's going to go down range, the slide is going to cycle back, and it's going to recock that hammer for you. So then your preceding trigger presses will be single action, which is going to be real nice, light, and crisp. That is the way a double action gun works. Okay, and then you have a 1911 style gun or 2011 style guns, which are single actions. Now, they are still semi-auto like the others, but they are single action. Okay, so you will rack the slide. The hammer will go back and stay back. That's how they're meant to be carried. And then you have a single action trigger at that point, which means that you have a nice, light, crisp trigger press, which releases the hammer. Every time you want to shoot, release the hammer goes forward, fires the gun, the round leaves, the slide cycles back, recocks that hammer, goes forward, waits for you to press the trigger again. That's a single action. So you have to kind of work with some of these guns, and you need to go out and shoot some. If you have a friend who's into firearms, or again, like we discussed in the last episode, find an instructor, pay an instructor, tell them exactly what you want. They may have regular classes just like set up, right? But if you get a hold of them and say, I want a private class, I want to learn about all these different actions of firearms and some basic safety, they will create, or they should, if they're an instructor worth their salt, they'll go ahead and they'll create a class just exactly what you need, a class for exactly what you want. And you tell them, and they will help you. They will answer you can get some hands-on time with all these guns, okay? Now, let's talk about, we talked about different types of guns and different types of actions on handguns. Now let's break this down even further, and let's talk about different sizes of guns. We have to be aware of that. You have what we call a full-size gun. That's going to be a full-size, like service size gun. So it's not a mini gun. It's not a little tiny gun. It's a full-size gun. They usually have they range on the gun anywhere from like almost a 4-inch barrel. Some of them go out to a 5-inch or a 5.5 inch, just a little over a 5-inch barrel. Okay, and they got a full size grip, meaning it's either a single stack mag or a double stack mag. We haven't gone into those yet either, but they, depending on the type of gun, they could hold upwards of 17 to 20 rounds. That's a full size gun. It's a big gun. And you don't need to be afraid of a big gun. Just because I say it's a big gun doesn't mean it's going to kick your butt with a lot of recoil when you shoot it. Because you can have big guns that are 9mm, big guns that are 380, big guns that are 40, 45, 10mm, all those things, right? You have different sizes or different calibers of guns, but they can all be the same size. And typically, a lower caliber gun will have less recoil in a bigger, heavier gun. That's something we need to remember here. You go in there, you're going to have lots of different sizes of guns, and we're going to get into this here in just a minute. Just because the gun is small and it looks cute and it looks easy to conceal doesn't mean that it's going to be very nice to shoot. Okay, so we have to remember that. Now, from the full size, we go down to what we call compact, which is usually going to be maybe a little bit of a shorter barrel, a shorter grip, right? And so you can do what? So you can so you can conceal that gun or carry that gun better, and it'll be better concealed, right? That's what a compact is. And you're getting a little bit less gun as far as the size of it, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. Then from there, we go to what we call the subcompact, which is even shorter, which is even shorter barrel, which is shorter grip. And you start to get into an area where people with big hands struggle because the grip's not big enough for them. They can't get a couple fingers on the grip. But this gun is easier to control. It's easier to conceal because then again we go into a subcompact style gun. You're going into a smaller firearm, which weighs less, which is going to have more felt recoil for you. And that's the way guns work. Is recoil. Recoil is what you feel when you shoot the gun. How snappy is it? Does it push back? Does it jump out of your hands? That kind of thing. The bigger and heavier a firearm is, the more it soaks up, the more recoil it soaks up. Okay, the less you have to deal with. The smaller a gun is, the lighter, the lighter it is, the less it weighs, the more recoil you have to soak up because the gun is so much lighter. So now from subcompact, they even have smaller pistols. They have what they call micro guns. And this is where we run into trouble. We run into trouble because these are the brightly colored guns. So these are the little ones that people are like, I'll just drop that in my purse. Or the guys, I can carry that in the small of my back. That's a bad idea. We'll talk about that later. But they are lured into buying these guns because they're little. They're little and they'll sell, and it's so little, it's so cute, it must not have that much recoil. Wrong. They usually kick like a freaking mule, and you need to understand that. And little guns can be very, very, very hard to shoot. I don't care what it is. If it's a little gun and it's a little 22, that's a purpose. Little guns are purpose-built guns, and it's not necessarily for the beginner. As an instructor, I hate them. I really do hate them. Oh, it fits me so perfect. Yeah, well, a bigger gun would fit you perfect too, and you're going to like the recoil a lot. There's been so many times I've taken people out on the range. It's their first gun. They're going to shoot it, and they're super excited. It's pink, it's purple, it's green, it's Tiffany blue, it's camouflage for the guys, or whatever it is. It looks awesome, right? But it's a little gun. They start shooting it, and then I see the look on their face. And they realize that, hey, it's got a really crappy trigger pull, or this thing kicks like a mule. This thing hurts my hand when I shoot. It is not enjoyable to shoot. That's what you get when you come up against micro guns. They have a place, but it's not necessarily with the beginner shooter. It's really not. I like to go running. I shoot quite a bit. I like to go running. I want to cut down on my weight when I'm running. I want to not carry a bunch of heavy things. So when I take my gun, I carry a small micro gun. That's where that comes in handy, right? That's where that gun fits perfect. Not for the person that's never shot before. They go and, maybe someone bought them a gun. They gifted it to them, whatever it is, for Christmas, for a birthday. They mean well, but these guns, and men, if you're listening to me, do not run out and buy your wife a gun because you think she's going to like it because it's Tiffany blue. Please don't do that. That is a horrible move. Get her a class. Take her to the store. Have her pick up guns. Talk to her about the guns. Have her shoot some before you buy something. Say, there you go. I got you this for a Christmas present. Now go take a class with it. Oh, by the way, in that class, you got to shoot 100 rounds. You got to shoot 150 rounds. They shoot it 3 times, and they're like, this is absolutely horrible. That happens every week out here. Every week here at Patriot Defense, that happens. And it needs to stop. It really needs to stop. I know, guys, you just mean well when you buy your mom, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend a gun. You really mean well. Send them to class without a gun. Send them with a box of ammo and the willingness to learn, and I will get them. I know you want to get them interested in guns. I know you want them to buy a gun. I can take care of that over here. I won't sell them a gun, but I will give them the knowledge, and I will talk to them about guns and tell them the ins and the outs and the whys and the hows, and they'll get to put rounds down range, and they will find something and choose something that works for them. Okay? I know you guys all mean well, but quit doing that. I hate that so much. But that's just kind of my quick rundown on the different types of guns that you have out there, and maybe some of the pros and the cons. Like it just depends. I didn't get super deep, and maybe I'll come back and I'll do a quicker dive on this. Again, these podcasts are just made to kind of be quick and dirty, kind of point you in the right direction, and I can hone in on a lot of the details later on if I feel like it's needed or if someone else would like me to do so. And you can do that by just shooting me, really easy, but just by shooting me a phone call or shooting me a text. A lot of people text. I'm good with that. That number is area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. You can find that down in the show notes, along with an email address. Shoot me an email if you'd rather do that. I respond to pretty much everything. So get a hold of me one of those ways. You can also see all the social medias down there. Get on there, like, subscribe, check, notify, whatever you need to do on all those social medias. If you're on there, please follow us. It doesn't cost you a penny, man. Just follow us. It really helps get the word out there. Helps all the algorithms, and that's being a firearms podcast. That's what I'm up against like all the time. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. I really do appreciate it. You guys get out there. If you got a firearm, get out there, do some shooting this week. Watch some videos, listen to this podcast, enjoy your family, have a safe week, make it to the weekend. I will see you next Wednesday.